Hey, hey, Saturday. Every day is my favorite day of the week. I can't say Saturday is just it, but it is my favorite time on a Saturday. And today, for our Soulful Saturday conversations, I will be talking to a beautiful young lady by the name of Tiffany. And I am just inviting her to our live. So we're going to learn all about Tiffany. Hey, well, aren't you the beautiful, lovely lady showing up here promptly at 4 p.m.? Hi, Tiffany.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Welcome, welcome. I'm so excited to talk with you today. It's just a pleasure. In a non-COVID world, I'd be giving you all kind of big hugs and
I
saying,
know.
"Yeah, yeah." You're even more beautiful on live than you are in your picture.
Oh, thank you.
And
Thank you
I
so
love
much.
your hair. I love your hair. It's just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So
Thank
I
you.
am very excited to talk with you. As you know, we've had a couple of chats along the way prior to this. I was just sharing with everyone that this is our Soulful Saturday conversations, and you are in the guest chair today. And I came to know of you through your partner's mom, right? So she shared, like Tiffany is just this wonderful young lady that, I think you would really enjoy talking to because we are in the month of February in particular. I am a little bit more focused. I will say that I am a huge that I study Black history, like above and beyond the month of February. However, I know that the world sort of gives us significance to this particular time of the year in February and, the history of Black History Month and all that. We want to say welcome to those who are joining. But one of the things that has been evolving for these Saturday conversations for me is just really recognizing that we have everyday heroes and sheroes and history makers amongst us who are living and walking and doing their work and following their path and journey. And so that really excites me. And I'm like, man, I want other people to know about people like yourself that are doing just really fantastic work. And at such, I want to say, such a young age, which as a mom myself really does encourage me. It gives me so much hope and just joy knowing that, you are our future and those in your generation are the future. Hello. Oh, Robert Penniman. I think he's related to you. That you're coming behind, that your generation is the change that will continue to take the things from your parents and your ancestors and continue the path on which the ground has been laid for you. So all that being said, I want to share what really struck me, first of all, about you. And as I started reading and learning more about you, of course, I'm like, wow, this lady is just like dynamic. I really want to talk to her. So I saw an article that was done on you in that you were participated or you helped or were instrumental in curating an event that is at the current institution that you are now getting like you are a doctoral candidate, second year, right? Read that second year doctoral candidate. And I am fascinated by this whole exhibit, what you put together in reading what your interests are, journalism. I mean, there's so much, like you've got so many layers. I don't know that we'll cover it all in 30 minutes, but I just want to give some background and that you were part of this exhibit that really took uh, pieces and tangible artifacts from last summer's protests, Black Lives Matter, and the racial unrest in your particular region of the country. You're in Florida, and really put that together in an exhibit. So let's just start with that. I'd love for you to just share a little bit about who you are, and then let's go right into that exhibit. And I know we'll just continue in the conversation from there.
Yeah. So the exhibit was really a project that I and my supervisors at the University of Florida really wanted to focus on just for archival, like preservation. And so I like reached out to one of my, I guess she was like very instrumental in my decision to even attend UF. And so she was a member of the library staff, and I reached out to her to ask if I could like assist her or shadow her with just like public history, archiving, any like library work, because I wanted my research to focus on that. And so
Mm-hmm.
she like happened to talk to her department chair like maybe the day or so before, and they were saying like we actually want to create an internship for like this type of position, like this type of research. And so I guess it was just like divine timing. And so
Yeah.
from there, I started working with the actual like university archivist, and she was just like giving me information about how they wanted to go out, take pictures of. They have a like a graffiti wall that's like 5 minutes from my house, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where people like just in the Gainesville community come out. They do like graffiti tags, murals, whatever is like the prevailing like social moment. It's documented like through graffiti. And so that
Mm-hmm.
was just one part. And then another part was a memorial that was actually on the campus of the University of Florida. And the staff were out there taking pictures. And they said, we actually want to take items like protest posters as well, like the candles, the flowers, anything that was left over, because we
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to just go to waste. And so we wanted to make sure it was preserved for future generations to show that Gainesville community members, University of Florida members, they're actually involved in these protests and they're actually involved in these social justice efforts. And so
Mm-hmm.
I got to play a part of that starting in probably August. And so from August all the way up to October, I was out there every week taking pictures. So twice a week at the graffiti wall and then once a week at the memorial site. And then from there, we just like started curating photos. It was like thousands. And so I had to pick maybe about 30 and then narrow that even further down to about 5 to 10 or so that actually went into the display.
Really? That seems so massive. You went from 1,000 to 30 to 5. Like, my
Yeah.
goodness, that must have took a lot of time to do that.
Yes. And I was like, I wanted to make sure that a lot of people's work was captured. So it was very hard to narrow it down because you want to like try to capture everything. But I think as long as it was focusing on like that central all Black Lives Matter moment, so I wanted to make sure we included not just men like George Floyd or anything, but also people like Breonna Taylor, Sandra Bland, Rekia Boyd, and also
Mm-hmm.
children and people, Black LGBTQ people. So we
Mm-hmm.
make sure we got a full range of the people that were really affected by police brutality and just racial
Mm-hmm.
injustice.
That's pretty darn powerful. So, did you know, like, I'm always fascinated, usually we have a lens sort of before things happen and then after things happen. But during the process, as you were going through this and actually going out every weekend and taking pictures and collecting the artifacts, what was that like? I'm curious to know, like, what experiences you had, if you met people, anything significant that stuck out to you during that time, and just share a little bit about the actual experience as you were going through it.
Yeah. I think just taking pictures, it was really like inspiring to me to see that like there's just this range of artistic talent here. And then I don't think it like fully hit me until maybe a few weeks into the internship, just seeing how often the memorial site and the mural site changed. Because sometimes I can feel like frustrated because you think that the moment is dying down. But to
Mm-hmm.
see like the murals become updated or just new flowers and candles be laid down, it really showed me that people are still listening, people are still caring. And so
Mm-hmm.
I was like really inspired by just that part of the internship process and the curation process to see that even though the protests aren't in the news, people still care right now.
So, if regarding the exhibit, for those of us who are not at the University of Florida, are we able to see it digitally? Is there access to it from a digital perspective that we can share? Because that is definitely something that I think, in fact, I know I want to share with people, but I do believe that people would be very interested in seeing your work and what was created, what the actual full-on exhibit looks like.
Yeah, so we're actually in the process of building a digital website for it now. So there'll
Yeah,
be even more pictures than that were in the physical display.
yeah.
But for right now, it's in the works. But the library staff is creating a finding aid and a finding guide so that once everything is processed, like picture captions, the items are processed with the preservation staff, then it'll be available. I'm not sure when, but hopefully by the end of the semester.
Okay, awesome. So did you realize that during this process, as you were going through this, that you were actually creating, that you are yourself living history, that you're creating something that wasn't done before, that forever you're like, this is a legacy, right? Because is this a permanent exhibit that's going to be held at the university?
No, so it'll be only up until about mid-March, but they
Okay.
are gonna keep the items for like for forever, basically.
Archive. So it'll
Yeah,
be, but that is forever documented, and you actually telling the story, because oftentimes, as we know from a historical perspective, we are not the people who tell the story. The story's told by someone else about us. And so I just think that is like powerful that you
yeah,
actually, yeah, have this with attached to your name. So this is your doctoral internship, this
yes,
particular project.
yes.
Wow, that's pretty awesome.
So it was something that I never would have imagined like would happen once I like reached out to the lady, and
Yeah.
I think it just like took a route of its own. So I think it's just like it speaks to once you're passionate about something, like and you put your effort into it, then like you'll see the fruit of your efforts eventually.
Oh my goodness, look at you, girl, dropping knowledge at such a young age. Teacher child, I love it. I love it. So I'm curious about, and I want to ask you about just your journey to how you got to University of Florida. I know from your bio that you are a graduate of Spelman University, and then you went from there on to Columbia for your master's in journalism, and now you're at University of Florida. So tell us, and you're a native ATLian. I said that right. I posted that. So you grew up in Atlanta. Do you have siblings? Just how you got to Spelman? Have you always been interested in Black history? I know, it's like this convergence of history, in particular Black history, and women's studies and journalism, and this whole intersection. So I'm really want to hear more about that.
Yeah, I'd say everyone in my family has gone to an HBCU for the most part, with the exception of a few people. But surprisingly, when I first was starting out, I was like dead set on going to a predominantly white institution, NYU, just because I wanted to live in New York. Um, and
I'm a
so,
native New Yorker, so I'm not mad at you.
so
That's
I went to
awesome.
like
Okay.
visiting day. I was at
Yeah.
visiting day at NYU, and it was just like very overwhelming. And then on top of that, just like the financial side. So then I was like dead set on going to NYU until July of, let's say, 2012. And like I got a call from Spelman, and like I like changed my mind. Like I'm dead set going to Spelman. My three cousins, they went to Spelman, so they were also instrumental in like making that decision. And so from their experiences, seeing how like they love like their culture, just how confident they became just from attending Spelman, I think I wanted that for myself as well.
Hmm.
And so Spelman didn't have a journalism program when I was applying, so I decided to go the English route. And then I just took English classes and then just wrote for the student newspaper when I could. And so I think like that made me want to do more so opinion journalism and not necessarily like breaking news, because you could have a little bit more authority over like what arguments you want to have, or like you could be a little bit more opinionated, because with like regular journalism or mainstream journalism, it's like you have to be objective, and that's something like I don't really agree with right now. So we can get into that later. Um,
Another topic, right? I hear you. You can come back and tell us all about that. I'm curious about that.
and then like from there, I one of my professors sophomore year, they were saying you would be an excellent professor. Like I could see you doing that, and I applied for a Mellon Mays undergraduate fellowship, and I received that, and that prepared you just like to go into the PhD, to become a professor, like public speaking, things like that. And I was really disappointed senior year because I applied to 4 PhD programs. I didn't get into any of them, but I did
Mm.
apply to one journalism program, and that ended up being Columbia. So that's kind of where my route kind of like differed, because I did know that I wanted to be a journalism, like a opinion columnist, but also professor. But I didn't know like if I would do like journalism first or do a professorship first. So God played that out for me too. And so,
Awesome. And you ended up getting to live in New York because
yeah.
Columbia is in New York. Yes.
So I spent a year in New York at Columbia, developed my journalism skills, writing, better like interview skills. So I think that's been really helpful with my current internship here too. And then I
Mm-hmm.
spent 2 years after I graduated from Columbia serving as a higher education journalist. So I worked at Diverse Issues in Higher Education magazine in Fairfax, Virginia. And
Mm-hmm.
so from there, I got to see like what are the best practices in education right now that serve minority students, minority faculty, grad students, etc. And
Mm-hmm.
then I also got to like make a lot of connections with people in higher education in general. So I think that was very helpful to see like I could connect with history scholars or other English scholars, even though I'm not like in school right now. I still have
Mm-hmm.
their number or their email. I could reach out to them when I could. And then
Mm-hmm.
like they were really helpful. There was one professor, Dr. Vanessa Siddlewalker at Emory, and I
Okay.
had an interview with her about a book that she was publishing. I think that was about 2 years ago. And she actually was like in the same field as me. She started out as a journalist or wanting to do journalism. And then she said, actually, I'd rather just be on the professor side, like the educator side. And I was like, if she could do that, I could do that. And so she was kind of like my unofficial mentor with that decision too.
That's awesome. And I was going to say that just that statement that you made, like you saw somebody who was like you, looked like you, who you could relate to, and said, if she can do that, I can do that. I can do that too. And that, just that right there is such a powerful thing to say. I mean, personally and selfishly, I'm so glad to have you on here because my daughter is personally interested in journalism. And I'm like, girl, you have got to see this interview with this young lady I'm going to be talking to, because you are, I mean, you are definitely an example of someone that she can say, huh, if she can do it, I can do it too. And I just think that's just fantastic. And I was going to, you kind of just answered the question. I was going to say who, and I'm sure aside from Professor Siddleberry, did I say her name right? Yeah.
Siddlewalker.
Fiddle Walker, sorry. There were other folks along your journey who've been quite instrumental. So who, if you could name some of your sort of most impactful influences, right, along this journey that you're on, and you're still on it, which is beautiful, but who have been some of your greatest influences?
I would say besides family, so I'll always start with family. So my parents, my grandparents, they were like the basis of making sure that I like follow my passion. So from a bit early age, they like introduced me to reading, writing. Anytime I wanted to ask a question, like they were available to answer. I was like very curious, and I'm pretty sure they got tired of me asking questions. Uh, and then
I
just
don't
like
think so. I don't think so, Tiffany. I think your questions led you to right where you are. So I'm sure they were very happy to answer your questions.
And then from there, I've had a lot of professors. So just off the top of my head, I know at Spelman, Dr. Donna Akiba Harper, one of my very like close English professors. I think it was my mentor from like freshman year. I still keep in contact with him, Dr. Stephen Nadler,
Uh-huh.
Dr. Patricia Ventura, Dr. Sizemore at Spelman, Dr. Tarshia Stanley. A lot of people have been like really helpful. So two of those professors at Spelman actually went to the University of Florida. And so from there, I liked what they were doing. One professor, Dr. Stanley, she did a class on images of Black women in the media or images of women in the media. And I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to do something in that route too. And then Dr. Ventura's classes were mostly on cultural studies. And so from like their experiences and their classes, I said, maybe the University of Florida is a perfect place to go since that is like where my research and my interests really like align.
This is really awesome. So, what are some of the things that you're doing now? Now you're you're a second year doctoral student. So, what's life like for a second year doctoral student? I imagine that if you're on the path of a PhD, you're doing a lot, and particularly in your field, lots of reading, lots of writing, lots of research. Am I on point with that, or what does
Yes.
it what's a day in the life like for you?
So on top of just like the academic side, we're also educators, so teaching the undergrad students. So I would say there's definitely lots of reading, lots of time management that goes into this because I feel like without a calendar or my to-do list that I have to make every day, I would just be lost in the sauce. I would like not be able to get anything done.
Yeah, I hear you.
So we
So,
have
so
lots of meetings.
yeah, so what's it like when you walk into your classroom and people are like, they probably think you're one of the students until they see you get up and then it's like, oh, that's the professor. Do you get those looks like double take, like neck breaking, like you're the professor?
I've had some people ask like they don't ask directly like how old are you, but they're like, you're the professor? I was like, yes. And so the University of Florida, they actually have a program where when you first start out, you have co-teachers. So thankfully I wasn't just in the classroom by myself at first. So I had two other co-teachers and I taught just for one unit. But where I really started teaching on my own was this last fall. Since we were in the pandemic though, it was online. So it kind of
Mhm.
took the pressure off. So I haven't been like in the classroom yet teaching on my
Okay.
own.
Okay.
So I'm kind of looking forward to it, but I'm nervous at the same time.
Well, I will tell you that you have impeccable composure right now. So if you're anything like right now on the screen, I think you will be just absolutely amazing. Plus, I mean, you bring to the table, you know what you know, you have your knowledge, you have your background. You're doing some amazing work, and you definitely have a voice and something to share. So if it helps, don't be nervous because they don't know what you don't know. Okay,
Thank you. And I'm
right.
interested, I'm thinking of like maybe creating a class that is related to my interests. So
Hmm.
something around narrative studies or memoir studies. So
Hmm.
I'm taking a class right now on Toni Morrison and then another class on English Caribbean literature.
Hmm.
So those classes have really helped me think about like how are Black writers or Black authors really using their novels, their music, their art to really tell their own stories. And so
Hmm.
I'm hoping I can translate that into a class for the undergraduates, maybe not in the fall, but maybe next spring. So I
Hmm.
can keep you updated on that too.
Oh, we would love that. I'm definitely going to stay up to date on your work. I mean, I feel like you'll be writing your own book at some point.
Hope
And
so.
yeah, I mean, you'll have a lot to share. So I don't think that's far behind. So I also read in your bio that you are a dog mommy. You
Yes.
have Butters is your is your dog. So you have your dog as well as your day in school. So well, I guess now because you're in the pandemic, being home, you don't have to leave Butters, right? So you're there,
Yes.
you're able to take care of him, and so that's not a problem. What do you think?
Yes.
Like, what are you thinking about as we, look to transition back to in-person activities? Is Butters going to go with you to class?
I'm actually like trying to train her to not be as anxious when I leave. But today's actually her third birthday. Um,
Oh,
but
happy
I'm
birthday!
concerned. Like right now, she's a little bit anxious, like when I leave. But I think like she'll be okay. I hope I can get another puppy, like just to keep her like entertained. So we'll see.
Oh my God, you are Tiffany. You want another? Wait a minute. You are in the PhD program. You have a dog. You want another dog.
Yes, that's how much I love dogs.
Wow. Okay, so you have this huge love of dogs. What are some other things that interest you outside of your studies?
I'm a big music lover. I just recently made vision boards with Justin, my partner. So
Mhm.
definitely vision boarding, anything that I can create, like take kind of like curation. So take pieces of one thing and make something else. I definitely like photography. So this last summer, I spent a lot of time trying to update my portfolio. I haven't been as like productive as I want to be, but that's something I want to continue just as another passion project. And I think
Mhm.
like my internship has really helped with that too. I think I've been trying to write a lot more poetry as well. So a lot of my research has focused on Audre Lorde as well.
Yes.
So yeah, so
Powerful.
thinking about how
Yeah.
powerful poetry can be,
Yes.
especially, and we've talked about this in one of my classes. Not everyone has time to sit down like and read a full novel. So just having like the impact in just a few lines is also something I'm trying to consider. Like, how can I make an impact through poetry as well?
Hmm. And so you mentioned Audrey Lord, and we know she just had a birthday,
Yes.
right? So for those who don't know who Audrey Lord is, just share a little bit about her. I mean, there's so much to say about her, but if you would help educate the audience, because part of this particular platform that I'm very interested in is educating people and sharing with people things, like I said, everyday heroes and sheroes, gems in our community. Audrey Lord was a major force in writing and literature, and the Black professor. She was again New York. She was up at Hunter College, so I know about her and some of her work. So, if you, from your perspective, since you have a deeper dive into her, why don't you just help us understand who she was and her significance to Black history?
Yeah, so Audre Lorde, there's a lot you can say about her, but you could say she's a Black woman, mother, lesbian, poet, like you said, scholar. And I was first introduced to her my freshman year at Spelman. We read her book, The Cancer Diaries, and so
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where I first got to know a lot about her. And then in my one of my recent classes, we learned a lot about how she was very instrumental in forging like a kind of like a Black diaspora bridge between Black people like in America, in the Caribbean, and also Black women in Germany. And so she was really instrumental in helping people like self-identify and assert themselves to say, I'm not just one identity, I can be this identity and so many others. And so I think she was just very radical also in her, I guess, advocacy for self-preservation and self-care, because like she said, you can't help other people if you don't help yourself. And so she said self-care is a radical act. And so I think I try to embody that when I do like yoga, or I try to go on nature walks with Butters, or
Yeah.
just like try to check in with family to make sure that like they're also taking care of their mental health.
Yes.
So I think I try to use the Black women scholars and writers before me to try to model like what I want to do with my own work.
And that's so beautiful and so beautifully said. Yes, self-care is a radical act. I mean, totally. And you know, I think it's even more special for me to hear that coming from a person such as yourself at your age, because I will tell you that probably like in my generation, mom's generation, and those who are your elders, self-care was not something that we were taught, right? And to hear you say that now, you have that deep understanding and know what that is, and you actually apply it. And so you being a living example for those who are coming behind you, I think this is where we see this generational shift where women, and in particular Black women, are doing a much better job of caring for themselves. We are still, you know, it's something that I teach as well. You know, you mentioned yoga. I also teach as well, but there's still so much work to be done in that field. And I'm so happy to hear you say that and know that and embody that. So what are you practice yoga, you mentioned, you go on hikes and walks with Butters. What are some other tools or things that you do in an effort to take care of yourself?
So I want to also like destigmatize like mental health and therapy. So I do use I use Talkspace because that's like what our grad school insurance will cover. But I definitely encourage people to try therapy. Also, I like going to the beach, just like being outside in the sun. I also play sports, so basketball and softball. I played in high school, and I try to continue that like when I can. So I was out playing basketball earlier this week. I just got a new basketball as well. So I'll be going out after this interview.
Well, listen, I can't even believe you said that because I just came from outside playing basketball with my daughter who loves basketball. So that's something else that we have in common. I think that's awesome. Just being outside, right? Like nature and sunshine and just taking in the fresh air and the vitamin D is just it's neat, it's necessary. It's not an option, right? To be healthy. So I love that you, it's so funny you said that basketball. I'm just laughing because I was just out there playing basketball and just I had my hoodie on because I was out there, you know, soaking it in. So I love that. That is really powerful. So the exhibit you just to recap, because we're coming down to time and I know, I'm busy. I don't want to say busy. I'm reshifting that language because I don't like the word busy. So that's just me. With a full schedule that you have, a full life, you know, studying and reading and working and taking care of yourself, I don't want to keep you longer than we have to be here. But I will say as a recap, the digital exhibit is coming soon, and you'll let us know about that. It'd be awesome if it came if it were up by March, because March is Women's History Month. Right. And so maybe I'll have you come back on in March, which would be amazing because then you can share more about it and maybe we can see the exhibit and kind of walk through some of the things that are specific from the exhibit. And then so your second year. So how many more years are you planning to before you complete your doctoral?
So I have one more year of coursework. I'll be done next spring. And then from there, I'll take my qualifying exams and I'll reach like my candidacy status. And then I'm trying to finish on the 1 or 2 year side. So hopefully by 2024, I'll be finished. But if it takes longer, as long as I'm like putting my effort in, I'll hopefully like finish everything.
Yeah. And okay. So what are your plans post-doctorate?
So I do want to teach still. So I want to be in the classroom, but I also want to be still like a public intellectual. So giving talks when I can, publishing columns. I want to make sure I'm publishing on my blog. So I need to continue with that as well. So I'll be writing. I'll be hopefully having my book published soon and also continuing photography.
Yes, that's awesome. So are you planning to stay in that Florida area? You plan to come back home? Where were you thinking?
I do want to come back home eventually, so
Yeah.
if I could maybe start out in Florida, maybe a university here, and then transition back to Atlanta, I would. But I'm still keeping my options open. I do know I want to like travel abroad still. So if I could do maybe a fellowship abroad, or
Yeah.
if I could have like a teaching appointment maybe for the summertime, that would be really cool.
That's awesome. Well, you are definitely one to watch, and we will be following your path and checking in. Like, where in the world is Tiffany? Just the best-selling author on the way. Yes, just when yes, she is. I can already tell. I'm like looking forward to reading your book for sure. Now, you mentioned you have a blog. So do you have a current blog now? So is it a blog where
Yes.
like people can check it out? Like where can we find more about you, or if people want to connect with you, what would you offer?
Yeah, it's called tiffanypenniman.com. So I'll
Mhm.
have my blog posts. I have some of my photography on there, and I have only one poem up right now, but I'll be posting and updating it soon. So right
Mhm.
now we're about to head into like, I don't think it's midterms right now, but we're halfway through our semester, so it's gonna pick up a little bit. But hopefully by summertime, it'll be a lot more content. So stay on the lookout for that.
Okay, so tiffanypenniman.com. I'm going to see if I can pin this. I'm going to put it in there. Let's see if I did it right. I'm going to post it. Now, did I do that right? Did I spell that right there, Tiffany? Your blog
Let's
name?
see. I don't think
Can
I
you
can
see it?
see the comments or
You
anything.
can't see it? Oh, gosh. Okay, so you'll have to forgive me because I am not the greatest at the posting. But I'm going to make sure that people know that tiffanypenniman.com is your blog post, and you have photos and just more about you. So
Yeah.
that's okay. If you don't see it, don't worry about it. I keep saying every single week I'm going to figure out how to post a comment. I still haven't figured out how to post a comment. So it's like if anybody knows how to do it and wants to give me a tip, let me know. Okay. But Tiffany, you have been just a sheer pleasure for me to talk to. I am so very happy to have connected with you. I want to thank Jerry, I know you're listening, so thank you so much for introducing me to this gem in our community. I like to say that each week I have what I call an uncut gem that we talk to. That is, okay, two N's. Thank you, Nessie Niece, I think that is, or Niecy Niece. Thank you, Niecy Niece. Two N's in Penniman. Thank you for that correction. So for me, it's just been a blessing. I'm so happy to have found you. We will definitely keep following you and make sure that we, share what you're doing. I'll be posting things on my website. I'll pull on my page as well. I'll pull from your website and just share more of you with the community, because you are definitely someone that the world needs to know about, So I just continue to wish you all the very best in all the work that you're doing. We're grateful for you capturing the historical protests of the summer of 2020. Yes, I said love the hair too. Yes, Aisha. Aisha Ariel said love the hair too. Yes. Well, honey, I said that at the beginning. I was like, oh, the hair is fire. Okay. Looking really beautiful with her hair. So yes, we definitely love the hair. So we are so very happy. The community is just so proud of you. I know your mom and dad must be like, oh my gosh, Tiffany is like just the best. Do you have siblings? I didn't even ask you
Oh
that.
yeah, I have a younger brother, so he's at Georgia State right now.
Oh, awesome. Okay. So he's just another up and coming scholar. So this
Yeah.
is wonderful. And this is so very important for our young people to see other young people, because, there's this narrative, as that, Black youth are just like, we're just struggling. Our youth are, our men are in jail, the young men are, and they are targeted, right? But we know that there are so many young Black men doing amazing things, just like young Black women from solid families. All of our families are not broken homes. And, every one of our moms is not necessarily raising her children on her own. There are two-parent
Mhm.
households, there's family support. The village is real.
Yes.
So I think that one thing I know is that in order for you to be successful, to journey in the journey that you've been in, you've had to have support.
Yes.
right? Because in order for you to stay focused, to, you know, the resources, all that it takes for you to get to where you are, you've got a serious village behind you. That I'm clear about, right?
Yes.
But I think that oftentimes people take that for granted. So we will also want to highlight the community. We want to thank your mom, your dad, and all those who are instrumental in your journey. And I want to just say, keep up the amazing job. I will definitely be looking out for the digital exhibit, checking out your website and blog, and just sharing you with my community and the world that I know at large. So keep on doing your thing, girl.
Thank
Keep
you.
on rocking. Maybe you'll give us some tips on the hairdo as I let my hair grow out. I'll get some more tips on the fly fro there. That's so beautiful. So thank you, Tiffany, for joining me today. It's just been my absolute pleasure talking to you, girl. You're just beautiful inside and out, and I know that we're going to continue to see great work come from you. So thank you so much. Have a beautiful rest of your Saturday, okay?
Thank you. Have a great one.
Yes, you too, darling. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Yes, Tiffany. So wasn't that awesome, y'all? Man, she was just really amazing. Thank y'all for joining us for another edition of Soulful Saturday Conversations. We will be back again next Saturday, and we'll be coming to you live from the Schuler Institute. So if you want to know about that, stay tuned. We'll definitely be coming live there. We will be leading a class teaching all about the art and skill of kombucha. I'll be leading that, and I'll be at the school. We'll be filming Soulful Saturday Conversations from there, and we'll be on a little bit early because the class actually starts at 4. So we'll be on there talking to some of the chefs, and, you know, and the reason why we want to come live from there is because, you know, once again, another example of living Black history. So we'll see you next Saturday at the Schuler Institute. Thank you, Tiffany. I'm sure that was a treat for all of you all. And definitely follow Tiffany. Check out tiffanypenniman.com. Yes, who's saying that? Jump at the Suns. Yes, yes. The video is saved. So all of my lives are saved. You will definitely be able to watch this. Just stay tuned. As soon as I close this out, we'll be downloading it and saving it on our live. So no worries. You can go back and watch it. And I encourage you to, if you missed any part of this, please go back and check it out. Tiffany is, man, oh my goodness, such just a beautiful light, and just the youth, right? The fact that she's so young, I'm just so proud of her. Thank you so much. Thank you. You are very welcome. Y'all enjoy the rest of this Saturday. Be blessed, and I'll see you next Saturday. Peace, y'all. So we will